Prayer is the art of assuming the feeling of being and having that which you desire. Most of the time when we prayer, we are constantly thinking that we are communicating with others than ourselves. Like, so a prayer is a form of communication this is the model. So you are praying to God. Okay? Prayer. The problem with that is when you pray outside of you, you have to believe that there's some entity outside of you. Okay? But the actual truth is, you are not sending your message to someone when you are praying. What you're doing is you are convincing yourself. You are persuading yourself that whatever you desire, you already have. There's no such thing as you communicating your prayers to a God. There's only such thing as you convincing yourself that whatever you desire, you already have. Prayer is the art of assuming the feeling of being and having that which you desire. Assuming. Whenever we use the word assumption, what we're actually doing is practicing our faith. Because assumption just means you are loyal to the unseen. Like you are assuming that the unseen, but you see in your mind, will going to happen. It's your loyalty to that. Okay? So that's what assumption is. So prayer is the art of assumption. You see, we use the word art here. Why do we use the word art? You see, whenever we call something an art, we're letting the people know that it's a well-crafted material, right? It's a well-thought-out material. That's why it's an art. Like someone who's an artist did that. So you call something an art when you acknowledge that there's a greater force who did that. For example, a painting in the museum, when you call that an art, you acknowledge the presence of who creates that. Okay? So prayer is the art, meaning it's a skill. It's something that you want to train yourself. It's something that you acquire. It's an art. Okay? If it's an art, that means there's someone who needs to do that. You get what I mean? You call something a painting because you acknowledge there's a painter. You call something a sculpture because you know that there's a sculptor. Right? It's the acknowledgement kung sinong gumawa doon. Prayer is the art means we're acknowledging the prayer or those people who praise as well. That there must be a way to this. It must not just be something na parang let's not go into that path. What I'm talking about is when we see prayer, ang nakikita natin is yung the way natin makipag-communicate sa isang God outside of us. What we mean by prayer is the art of assumption, meaning prayer is convincing yourself that there is an art of self-persuasion. You get it? It's an art of self-persuasion. It's an art of convincing yourself Kasi kung hindi ka maniniwalang hindi na ikaw na yung gusto, kung hindi ka maniniwalang ngayon, ikaw na kung sino yung ginugusto mo, then you will stay as you are. Prayer is the art of assuming. It means it's the art of persuading yourself. Okay? Again, this is not the prayer. You're not talking to a God. You're acknowledging that the presence of God is within you. Therefore, you have to convince yourself that you are no longer depressed. But that's hard for a lot. You have to convince yourself that you're no longer anxious. You have to convince yourself that you're no longer poor. It's self-persuasion. Are you getting this? Now the question is, what are you trying to convince yourself to? Okay? Let's proceed with the sentence. What we're trying to convince ourselves is simple. It's the feeling of being and having. If you desire wealth, then you have to convince yourself of feeling, of being and having. Diba? Na-feel mo yung being ng wealth, and then na-feel mo yung having ng wealth. Okay? But for some, it's just so difficult for them, and I know it's not for you. Because you're watching this video. Because you are one of those who are awakened to the way we create life is through the quality of our thoughts. And the way we change our thoughts is when we desire to change our feelings. Nagkaroon na ng desire ma-change yung feeling. No? That's why you hear a lot of people saying, I am stuck. Why? Because they're stuck into the idea that they're praying to someone. But the moment you make yourself awaken, you see God as you and part of you. Okay? Are you getting this? Let's continue. Prayer is the art of assuming, meaning self-persuasion, the feeling, yung pakiramdam, of being, yung bagong ikaw, and having, anong pakiramdam nun? Like what? Now that you have it, how does it feel? That's where you have to convince yourself. Doon dapat i-convince sa sarili mo. Okay. That which you desire. Which means it's very particular. The desire must be very particular. I studied religion as my way to cope for the lack of meaning in life. And as I studied religion, I noticed that all religion has their own form of prayers. Meaning, communication to something, someone divine. Okay? What I notice is, prayers are getting answered when these three things are present. Okay? So, prayers are getting answered when there are these three things. Ito yung tatlong bagay na nakita ko every time na I see a prayers answered. Okay? The first one is rock bottom. It turns out that most people prayers are answered in this state. When you hit that rock bottom. Okay, I have heard of the story of Kuya Jobber. The time that when he's trying to jump off the Sogo building, if you still remember that. And I watched this in Tony Talks, and yung isang narinig ko dun is, there's someone trying to kill me. Like, he's hallucinating that there's someone's trying to kill me. And yung moment na yun, he describes that as rock bottom because of his usage sa illegal drugs noon. No, that's the reason why he hit the rock bottom. But after that, bigla siyang naging, alam mo yun, a changed man of God. So, that's how I discovered that every prayers that are getting answered out of this place, the rock bottom. Second, there must be desperation. Now, what is desperation? Decision that is made for you, not you did not make. So it's like, nasa rock bottom ka na, ano pa bang ibang gagawin mo? It's to go only way up. You know, may desperation, may decision na hindi ikaw yung nag-decide. Right? Na parang dinicide sa'yo ng mundo pero wala ka na magawa. So that's what desperation is. Parang, there's only one thing that could happen if you get into rock bottom. What is that? Ano pang pwede mangyari? It's to go up. Like, you just hit the rock bottom. Ano bang titignan mo dun? Okay? So the only way that you have is to go up. So there's always a sense of desperation. Always a sense of desperation. And the last one is hope. Hope is your ability to see the future. Most people who are depressed are dealing with a lack of hope. Okay, I don't want to talk about the chemical imbalances of the brain. I want to talk about this, okay? Like, can hope be a tool to help those people who are calling themselves or diagnosed depressed? Can we teach them what hope is? Because I believe like most people need to find hope in this. It appears like a meaningless world to a lot of people. So hope just means your ability to see the future, okay? And for you to see the future, it must come from a desire, okay? Again, for you to see the hope, it must come from a desire. And how do we deliver our desire? Right? Paano ba natin sabihin yung desire natin? Paano mangyari yung desire? Diba? We use prayer. But the problem is we see prayer as you're communicating to someone. You're communicating to something. That's why most of the prayers are not getting answered. You see, these three things are what I discovered. But I believe that we can change this into I believe that all of the prayers can get answered if you only just have decision and hope. Let me explain. I don't think we don't need to reach the rock bottom. I think we can get our prayers answered without the rock bottom. It must only just compose of two things. Now, desperation is good, but I want to change desperation to a decision. You see, all prayers can get answered the moment that we have decision na ito lang yung mangyayari. Nothing else. You're cutting all the other possibilities. Now you decided that you're gonna get your marriage correct. You decided that you can be wealthy. You decided that you can feel love. If you decided na that's just what's going to happen, if you just know how to cut other possibilities, na hindi, kahit anong mangyari, ito lang yung mangyayari. Okay? That's a decision. So I want to change desperation to decision. And the next is hope. It's what I've mentioned, your ability to see the future. Or your ability to believe that the future is already yours. Whatever you're seeking for the future is already yours. I hope you're enjoying to this conversation. Let me just end this by reminding everyone that prayer is the art of assuming, meaning self-persuasion. The feeling, yung pakiramdam of being, yung pagiging and having that which you desire. Okay? It starts with a prayer, it ends with a desire. A beautiful sentence, no? Sorry pala sa mga ubo ko. So, while I'm erasing this, I'll give you a moment to have a desire or a wish. Okay? And don't get worried if matutubad ba to or hindi. Like, no, just give yourself a wish right now, a desire right now, okay? While I'm trying to erase this. And then instead of you asking that desire to be granted by others, you grant it to yourself. Just learn that skill of granting it to yourself. I know for some of you, you will not get good at it right away. But for those who will get good at it right away, will unlock the secrets of the universe. I'm reading this book, Feeling is the Secret. Just in case you want to dig deeper. Whatever I teach are all the teachings of my mentor, Neville Goddard. So if you're someone who knows arts of Neville, let me know in the comment. We might be friends, right? And also share the books that you're reading right now. So I gave you an assignment that is to think about your desire and don't allow others to grant it for you. Grant it for yourself. Try that practice. Try that practice.